Video we discussed that how we can build components. That is, we had two components and then we had to build both of them. So that is done. Now understanding about how one component interacts with another component. That is, based on what I am putting here, I'm able to filter and I'm getting this. So this is one component and this one is second component. But then how, based on first component, I'm getting values to another component? This we can do using events. Yes. If we want to interact between two components, then we can use event to do that. For the normal interaction, like here, we want a filter. So on the basis of this filter, we want this value. So now if one component wants to interact with another, we will be using events. Now once we are clear on this part, let's understand what type of events they are. There is application event and then there is component event. In the application event, any component can fire, and whoever component handles it will be able to get those values. That is our application event. Let's discuss more in application event because this is what we are using. So let's see how it works. So we have already created an account list. So first of all, I would like to discuss is about this event, that is init. Init is an system event which is handled, which the event handled by Salesforce itself, and it is created on the page load. That is on the page load what I want to see, because we will using this handler to get it. So basically wherever we put handle, that handler will give us the value. So we say name init, value this, and then we say do init function. We say do init, we say c dot do init because c denotes the controller. So if I go to the controller, I see do init, and the do init will be calling again a helper function. So if we see, the function is having three parameters, that is component, event, and helper. So now we are calling helpers. We just have to say helper, and then we have to call the helper function, that is get action list. And if I go to the helper itself, I would be seeing that if I go to this one, get account list, which the name I wrote here, the get account list is the one which is being called here. So that is how we will be doing it. And that account list, which we have already discussed in the last session, this will be calling our Apex class, that is this one. And how it will do it is that this one we will be storing, so this is our reference variable. We will be saying to get the accounts, and once this one we will be storing in the action variable, and in this we will be setting the callback. And in this we say that okay, action dot set callback, and this component dot set result get return value. So we are getting the values, storing the values of whatever we have in the Apex. This time we have the list. We are returning the list. So whatever there is in the list, we want it to be coming up here. So what we do is we say get this Apex class. Once we are getting it, store it in the action. In the action, what we have to do is whatever we are getting the value, the written value, we are storing it in the attribute, and this attribute is here. This attribute, if I go to account list controller, this attribute account list controller, we have been calling it in the component, and here we are putting it. So here the value will be coming, whatever we want, here it will be. Now if we go further, you see here account is there. So what does this account does is this is for fetching a particular data, one record. We say account.id. So how will the id come? because in our Apex class we are saying get ID, name, industry, all these things. So when we say account, that is one, this one dot ID, it will be getting ID. The same way we will be getting all of them. So, and where it will be getting? It will be getting here, because this is where we are getting it. One more thing which I can discuss is that this lightning component is stateful. Stateful as in this one, what happens is that attribute we set, and here we are getting it. So we are saving the state, and because we are setting it and then we are getting it, it becomes the stateful. And the Apex controller, this is stateless. So this is one thing very important which we should keep in mind. Now, if I go further, and also I want to say, when we talk about the visual force page, the visual force is stateless, and then there the controller is stateful, because we are able to see set, we are able to do set and get, that is storing the state and then getting the values. But in this we are doing it within the component, but not in the Apex controller itself. So Apex controller is stateless, and the lightning component itself is stateful. So this is what we got. Now, once we are getting the result, what we are saying is, we are saying NQE action. What does it mean? It says that, so what is happening is, callback is asynchronous. Here I have written that callback is asynchronous, that is whenever resources is free, that get the values. So what happens is, asynchronous means whenever resources are available. So what NQ does is, it is like a queue. So there are multiple calls can be made to a server, and they will be returning the values whenever they are free. So if we are thinking about the ATM line, so there are 10 people in the line. So whenever the ATM is free, then we are able to fetch the amount. The same way, whenever it is free, then we are getting the action. So we are saying set callback, so that we don't have the load on the server. So it is asynchronous, that is queue. Whenever the server is free, then we get it. So that is how we are able to call the Apex controller, get the values, and then by the help of attribute we are able to show it there. Once we are able to show it in our account list controller, we are able to show it in the account list. Now we are able to do it. We have discussed the attribute account, we have discussed the init. Now what we have to do is, once we have created it, we have also discussed the dependent pick list component in the last one. We have discussed about the SLDS, that is the Lightning has created its own design system where we can use. Now the first thing which this is doing is coming to what functionality it is achieving. Once we click on filter, these three things should appear. So if we talk about this, what we can do is, I'm going to the dependent pick list, and here I have created one button, lightning button, and then in this we say on click do something, and then we have created the whole div, this whole div, which will be containing our pick list and the text field which we want to display on the click of button. So what we will say is, firstly, once we create it, we will be putting the div style display equal to none. So what will happen? Initially, this whole complete div, this div, because it's display none, so it won't be appearing. So when it should appear, we say on click on a button. So in this, we will be saying, we will be calling JavaScript controller, that is view pick list. So this is how we will call it, c.view pick list, and we will be going to that particular controller. I will be going to the account pick list, and once I am going to account pick list, I would be able to see the controller. So that's how we will be able to access it. Now once we are able to put the functionality in the controller, I will see the div. This is how we have written everything. And yeah, so now we will be going to view pick list, and then I would be going on the controller. In the controller, if I go, you will see here view pick list function. Then we say this is how we write in JavaScript, document dot get element by ID. Why ID? Because there, if you see, we are using the ID. So here, if you see, we are using the ID pick list. So we say document dot get element by ID. Okay, give me this ID pick list, and what you do, style display a block, that is show it. When show it? When this particular button is being clicked. So that's how our functionality is achieved. Now it's like, okay, on a click of a button, get this. Fine. Now after getting this, what we do? We say that basis of what we are having field, condition, and values, get the filter. So what we will be doing is, I have used the input select, I have used the aura field, aura ID field. So this is what is important, and then these are the label names which we have written, and again the same thing. And if I go to this thing, we have stored it here. Now if I want to send this value, so what I want is, whatever I'm putting it, we have to send it to the another component that is account list. Only then, once it receives the value, then only it will be able to get it. It will be able to show it according to, if I say name equals Genepec. So only once this component fires the event and gives it the values which are stored in this component, only then the interaction, when it happens and it gets those values, only then it will be retrieving what we want. So what we will do is, we will create an event, because of event we can do interaction between two components. So they are the components, they are not the parent child components. They, so this is called application events. So what we will be doing is, we have registered the event. So how the event which will be firing, we will be using registered event. So what I will say is, registered event or a type search key change, name search key change. So what is this? This is the event. So I will open this. This is the event. So first of all, I will create the event where the type equal to application, that any component which fires that event, and then any component which wants to handle it will be using aura handler. Any component which fires it will be using the aura register, and any component which wants to receive it will be using aura handler. So this because of this, we will be using the type application, and then this one handle value from component to another. Okay, we have we will be using the names select field, select condition, and entered values. These are the three attributes which will be declaring. And now once we declare the attributes, we can use it wherever we want by calling it. So here we have declared the attributes. Again, I will go to this. I will say, I will register the event here, because from here I want to fire the event. Because here I want to fire the event, that's why I will be registering the event here and putting the type and the name. This event will be having the interaction with. Now if I go to the controller, I'll be checking on another one, that is, so I have created a function called filter. Let's see where we have called this function first of all. So I will go here. So what we want is, on a click of a button, do this. So where will we be putting it? On a click of a button. So firstly we will be doing the UI part, okay, getting the input buttons, getting the label, putting the button. Once we are done, now the action comes that on basis of this, do this. So on basis of this lightning button, click this. So we will be going on click equal to filter. So here I will be calling the filter function. So now once we are calling the filter function, what we are saying, we are creating a variable that is search key change, and in that we are getting the event that is search key change event. We are using the application event search key change. So if I go to the event again, this is the event which we have created. It is of type application and it is having three three attributes. Why three attributes? Because we have to send all these values here. So we have created three attributes. Once we have given the three attributes, then I will be going on the dependent list controller. Here, what I will be doing is that we will be getting this one, search key change event. Okay, we get it. Then this is simple console log. We can skip this. Then we will be saying search key change, the variable which we have declared, what we have get. So once we have received those three attributes, we are setting. We are saying component dot find field dot get value. Now how we are getting the values? If you see, we have discussed the component. We have discussed about the ID. So this is one ID or a field, then which is condition, and then we are using the data. So if I go to the controller, here firstly we are getting the values from the event, whatever we are setting, and then here we are setting the parameters. So how we will be setting it is that we will be saying that in the field, that is the first one, we have to get the value, whatever value is there. In the condition, find field and get value, find the condition and get value, and find the component got get and get the data. So I go back again. This is the field which we are getting. This is what we have to write. This is the field, and then again this is again the condition we are getting, and then this is the data. So we are saying that okay, find this by RID and get this value, find this by condition and get this value, and find this and then get the data. So this is how we will be setting it. And once we set all the values, we will be storing it. So what will be having it? We will be saying the event dot fire. Now we are firing the event. We have done we have restored the event, we have got the event, we have got all the values here. Now once we have everything is there in this event, now we can send it to the another component. Now we will be firing it. Now once the event is fired, any component which wants to handle it will be using or a handler. So I want to make it handled by account list.cmp. So because I want this account list component to handle it, I will be using this one, event search key change. So here we will be handling it. Now how the event is being handled, let's see. We have called filter result, so we will be going to controller, and here is the filter result. If we see how we have done it is, here we are getting the parameters select field, select condition, entered value. How we are getting this? If you go to the event, it has select field, select condition, enter value. How it is able to access? Because there we have used the aura handler. So if I go here in the select key in the dependent list controller. Here, this one we have already done. We will be using the account list controller. Yeah. So here we will be getting these parameters, whatever value is being set there, we are getting those values, and then what we want is, based on whatever value is there from the back end, from the Apex controller, get those values, that on the basis of this condition get it. So we will be again doing a callback. How we do a callback? We have created a variable action get in the controller. Whenever we are doing C, means we are calling Apex controller. Whenever we are writing C in component, means we are going to call the JavaScript controller. So we are going to call the Apex controller get account filtered. In that we will be setting parameters. Which parameters? Which we have got from the event. That parameters we will be setting it here. Once we are setting, we will be doing the callback, and in the callback again we will be saving the action result, will be returning the values, and whatever is there we will be putting in the accounts. So again the accounts, the list, it will be attribute will be returning the list which is coming from here. So that's how we are able to do. Now if I go to our controller, the Apex controller, this is account filtered. This is what we have created. So this is the accounts filtered. In this we have to, on the basis of condition, we have to do this. So what we have to do here, we have firstly created a list accounts, get account, select condition, enter three parameters, because these are the parameters on the basis of which we want to. Now we want to store the values which we are retrieving from the database in this particular list. Now because on the basis of particular condition we want it, we will be using the dynamic query. So how we write a dynamic query is, we will be declaring a string variable and we will be putting the query, and in that we will be writing the name of the query. Once we have written the name of the query, then we will be storing it in database.query. That's how we will be storing it. My accounts will be having the particular query, this query, whatever result we are getting. Then after this we will be putting the condition. It is equal, then do what? We will create another query, string query. We say that get these values, get these records when the select field parameter is equal to entered value, because we are using equals. Then we are putting the not equals condition. Percentage sign. So if it contains that particular value, the field, then get this. So on the basis of condition, we have written equals or not equals or contains. On the basis of condition, it will be returning something, returning the list, and that list we will be storing. So what I will be doing is, we will be saying what, for example, letter is coming here. So I will be saying database.query.query3 and store it in the my accounts. So what I will be saying is, once it is stored in any of the accounts, like if based on whatever condition, so initially the query is this, that entered value. Now on the basis of this, it will go here, whichever condition it executes, it will be having that value, and then we will be returning my accounts, so whatever value it has. And now it is a list, we are returning the list. We have created a list, we have stored the values, whatever value we are fetching, we are returning it here. Now we have three parameters here. select field, select condition, entered value. So where we have declared in the get account list, which is in the account list controller. In the account list controller, if I go here, you will be seeing that we have select. So here if I go here, you would be having different fields. So we are getting different parameters we will be setting. Params is used to set the parameter to the apex controller. We are setting the parameters and then we will be getting the values. So this is the where we are firing the event, and in the one which called action list dot controller, which is here, we will be calling the get account filtered, and we will be setting those parameters which are coming from there, and on the basis of these parameters get the callback. So that's how we will be performing the entire action. One more thing which we want to notice, that there's two controllers, controller and helper. JavaScript has two controllers. So when we want to call one function from another, that time we have to use helper. Helper controller means it's like, for example, if we are using generic, is if you want to fetch one function from another, then we will be using helper. For instance, we have doInit function, and then we have another function. It will be showing the count of a list. We have two functions, and we have to call one function from another. So that we have to do, that we can do using helper controller, not a controller, JavaScript controller. Helper we have to use instead of controller. So when we are wanting to interact and call one function from another, then we will be using controller. So in a summary, what we have learned is that when we want to interact from one component to another, that is on the basis of one component, get the values to another component, in that case we will be using events. Secondly, there are two types of events, application event and the component event. Third is system event, which are being created by system, but we just have to handle it. Coming back to the application event and component event, application event, it is fired by any controller which wants to fire it, will be using the aura dot registered attribute, which we have seen here, that dependent pickless is firing, so it is using aura dot handler attribute, sorry, aura dot registered event, and aura dot registered event, whoever wants to fire it, and any component which wants to handle that event will be using aura dot handler. That is you can consider it in a layman language, that is there is a postman, and will be able to go to a particular place once that one will be putting the address. So this is kind of, okay, this one is putting the address by saying aura dot handler event. So because of this, we are able to retrieve the values in this particular component. Whichever component says that we want to handle it, we'll be using aura handler. So this is how we are able to interact between two different components and able to filter the values.